The battle over migrant detention centers intensifying to white heat as Border Patrol agents are now pushing back on the claims by New York Democrat Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Listen to her.
There's abuse in these facilities. There's abuse. This was them on their best behavior, and they put them in a room with no running water, and these women were being told by CBP officers to drink out of the toilet. They were drinking water out of the toilet, and that was them knowing a congressional visit was coming. This is CBP on their best behavior, telling people to drink out of the toilet.
Did you see somebody actually do that?
National Border Patrol Council Vice President Hector Garza told our own Neil Cavuto earlier today that Ocasio-Cortez was actually the one whose behavior was threatening and abusive to border agents during her tour of a detention facility. We reached out to AOC for comment and have not heard back. Let's bring in former ICE Acting Director and Fox News contributor Tom Homan. So, Tom, do you believe AOC?
No, it's ridiculous. I mean, no Border Patrol agent's making a female drink out of a toilet bowl. If she would have looked at the apparatus that's in every county jail, every ICE facility, every detention Border Patrol facility, it's a stainless steel apparatus. There is a commode, and above the commode, about 4 foot, there's a sink. So if someone from Guatemala who's never seen this apparatus before might have told, yeah, I'm drinking out of something that looks like a toilet, it's a lie. No one's drinking out of a toilet bowl. And if she was, as a congresswoman, if she heard that, it was her responsibility to go immediately to the management of the Border Patrol while she was there and say, show me this. Tell me about this. But no, she's an expert now. She spent 3 minutes at the facilities, gets in her car, she has her opportunity to, again, denigrate the men and women of the Border Patrol who are serving this country the best they can.
So, Tom, it's Carol Roth. It's interesting to me. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was one of, I think it was 4 Congress people who voted against funding that would help this situation. Now she's down with a lot of photo ops going on. Do you think that she has the intentions to actually fix this problem, or is she using this to raise her profile?
Look, the Border Patrol has been asking for months to Congress to give funding to HHS to move these women and children out of a detention facility that was not, this is a jail. This is a Border Patrol facility where the process moved on. They weren't built for women and children. And Border Patrol has been begging. The president has been asking, the department has been asking for Congress to give HHS funding so they can have additional money to build more beds that are built appropriately for women and children, where they can have the services they need. And she's failed American people because she actually voted no against a supplemental package that finally addressed the humanitarian need. So she's the last person that should be pointing their finger at the fine men and women of the Border Patrol. I was a Border Patrol agent. I know how these. No one's talking about the 4,000 people the Border Patrol saved this year that would have died if they wouldn't have found them. No one's talking about them pulling children out of the river. No one's talking about them bringing toys from their own children to this facility so their children can play with these toys. No one's talking about them sharing their lunch. No one's talking about Border Patrol agents taking sicknesses home to their families every day because they're dealing with sick people. Right. It's a travesty that a U.S. Congresswoman would say something like this and not be held accountable.
Tom, it's John Layfielder. Thank you for joining us on the show today. I'm not sure what Miss Ocasio-Cortez is doing down there to begin with. Her district is about a couple thousand miles away in New York City. And Congress, if they would do their job, you wouldn't have this issue on the border. What do you need, though, to stop this? This seems like a symptom from a broken immigration and amnesty system. What do you need to fix this, though, right now going forward?
Ocasio-Cortez needs to go back and do her job at Congress. They need to fix 3 loopholes. They need to fix the asylum rules. They need to fix the TVPRA, where children from Central America are treated the same as children from Mexico. Children from Central America need to be treated the same as children from Mexico. That means with their ascertained they're not a victim of trafficking, they need to be sent back to their home country. And the biggest thing is fix the Florida settlement agreement. If these people want to come across as a family and claim asylum, they certainly have the right to do that. But we got to detain them long enough to see an immigration judge. We did this back in FY 14 and 15. We built the first family detention facility. 90% lost their cases. We filled airplanes full and sent them back. And guess what? The border numbers plummeted because we showed a consequence of deterrence. We show we're a nation of laws.
Look, I have a question that's this general crisis, which is why only recently has the asylum rules been used in that fashion? Meaning there's not nearly as much illegal immigration into the United States as there was through the 1990s and 2000s in the past couple of years. But you do have this asylum issue that has suddenly come to the fore. Why was it never part of the mix until the past couple of years to the degree that it is now?
Because in past history, it was Mexican nationals coming across the border. We didn't see a large influx of Central Americans. So they can easily use the loopholes in asylum. Mexico have a hard time claiming asylum because we all know Mexico is in pretty good.
Yeah, but they could have showed up at the border and said, we're fleeing drug violence, that the police aren't able. So you could have claimed asylum under the same general spectrum the Mexican immigrants could have.
But did not take advantage of the loopholes at that time. At the time, look, when I was a Border Patrol agent, I'd be lucky if I processed 10 Central Americans in a month. 95% were Mexican nationals who were a good Border Patrol agent can process and remove a Mexican national in 20 minutes. So when people say, well, there was a lot more illegal immigration back there, yeah, there's over 1 million back then, but guess what? 95% went home in an hour. And many of them, I caught the same illegal alien 4 times in one shift. I remember because he was missing 3 fingers. So they would simply go down the line across again. So that 1.2 is probably more like 400,000. But now this population, this million people aren't going home because they're making a fraudulent claim to asylum, which is going to back up the system. So people in this world that really are escaping fear and persecution, like from some of the African nations and the European nations, they're in the back of the line because you got all tens of thousands, right now 200,000 people clogging the system up with fraudulent claims. Now, I don't say fraudulent claim easily. If you look at the data, 90% of Central Americans that claim asylum do not get relief from U.S. courts.
Tom, forgive me, we have some breaking news here. The Justice Department saying the Trump administration has dropped its bid to put the citizenship question on the 2020 census. Just yesterday, President Trump told reporters, we're still looking at ways to try to delay the census from printing. I want to get your thoughts on this, Tom.
I think they should be asking the citizenship question. I think the American people need to know how many people are in this country illegally. Right now, everybody says it's 12 million. They've been using that 12 million number for over a decade. Right. We all know it's more than that. And look, I think the reason the left has pushed back against this, it's all about electoral college. It's all about getting a count of people in their jurisdiction so they get more seats in the House and get electoral college. This is all about votes. Right. This is not getting to the truth. This is about power.
John, forgive me, but we got to move on. I just have to say one thing, though, because among other charges that are being made by Democrat Congresspeople who went down to these facilities were charges of racism against Border Patrol agents, particularly against the Latinos that they're holding. I want to mention that the last 5 of the many, many Border Patrol agents to have been killed in the line of duty are these people: Rogelio Martinez, Isaac Morales, David Gomez, Manuel Alvarez, and Jose Barraza. Now, these are Spanish surnames. They're obviously Hispanic individuals who died in the line of duty as Border Patrol agents, and these Congresspeople have the gall to call Border Patrol agents racist against Latinos. Your final thoughts on this?
Look at the data. Over half of Border Patrol agents are Latino. And you know, just because Latino doesn't mean they want to serve. They want to serve their nation proudly. And a lot of the Border Patrol agents, I don't know the percentage, but a large majority of them are veterans of the armed forces. Yeah. These men and women have served their country. They've served their country before, and they're serving their country again. Okay. They leave the safety and security of the home every day to defend this nation. Don't call them a racist. Call them your heroes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming in.